But
Donnie Lott, Spark Broadcast. Play as. How has that transition for a year in the league? Say the roles.
Yeah, I played point at Stanford for 4 years, all four. It really just wasn't all the time. It was like I kind of played wherever it was needed within a possession. And yeah, I think it's translated very well having that capability. And yeah, I think my role is to play make for others, for myself, execute schemes, everything like that.
I think for you, Coach, how do you describe the other night? Was that just bad shooting all around? Was it something Seattle was doing defensively? It seemed like both teams kind of struggled.
I think in the first half, I mean, we're up 14. Majority of that game we're up. I didn't think I did a great job at the end of that game, really putting us in position to be successful. So I think that has a lot to do with it. I just wasn't as sharp as I needed to be. So we weren't as sharp as we needed to be. But I mean, it happens, some of those games are going to happen like that at times. You got to learn from them. But quick turnarounds, because obviously now we have one here in LA. So just a refocus.
My questions for Coach. The previous games, you beat as far as measurement success, particularly from the guard play. What's the focus tonight to get another big game?
For us, we're trying to do a lot of focusing on ourselves nowadays, really getting better in the areas that are going to help us sustain success. So for us, taking care of the ball is always going to be big on our list in terms of what we do, especially because the ball is in the guard's hands a lot. So that's part of it. I think ball screen defense is always big. If we can keep that neutralized, that always helps as well. And then just having an emphasis on working on the areas that are really areas of growth for us.
From a player's perspective, where we are right now in this season, and what you guys are gearing towards when it comes to the postseason, how do you balance the now versus looking ahead and just keep that all into perspective?
Yeah, I think when we focus on the now, we're able to lock in on what we need to do, which will prepare us for the future. So yes, I mean, there are things we want to accomplish down the line, but right now we need to take care of business in order to get there. So it's really one day at a time, one game at a time, in order to really prepare us for what our end goal is.
Just to kind of take one step further, is it challenging as a player? Are you a standings watcher, especially when it gets towards this time of the season? I think that's human nature in a sense, but.
Yeah, it's definitely human nature. But like I said, I think if we take care of the business that we need to, then we'll end up in a pretty good spot. So just focusing on ourselves, like Coach talked about.
Wrestling with the Crenshaw team here, and coming off the loss, what mindset do you guys have?
Yeah, I think it's always motivating. I mean, we're motivated for every game, but especially after a tough loss like that, we kind of feel it in your chest. You want to really come out the next day and have that with you, but also not let it, dictate the way that you're going to play so much. So yeah, I think coming into this game, we're very motivated to get another one on the road and then get to Vegas. So I think we're motivated.
we'll jump to Zoom. So Mark, go ahead.
Hey, all good to see you guys. T, question for you. Like you mentioned in terms of takeaways from Seattle and kind of learning through some of those things. How do you think you've grown most as a coach this year?
Yeah, it's funny. Somebody just asked me this question. I think learning to trust my instincts. I think that's been a big one for me throughout the year. There are times when, especially as a young head coach, you just don't have the experience that you need. And so for me, trying to learn when to trust my instincts and when to listen to advice as well has been a big area of growth for me. And I think I'm getting better than that day by day, game by game, and game by game.
Definitely. How do you like evaluate that? Because I know like when you're watching a game, you can evaluate somebody's running pick and roll, but when you're a coach, how do you kind of evaluate some of those things for yourself?
Like, you mean like changes or different things like that, or what? What are you asking?
I guess that's kind of a broad question, but just in general, like when you're looking at like what rotations could have been, or like you mentioned in Seattle, like how do you kind of evaluate those things?
Yeah, it's feel. I think a lot of it is just a feel for the game. What's going on? What are you seeing? Who's doing what? How are we being guarded? Different things like that. I think that all that helps me see and understand, like rotation wise, who might, you know what I mean, who might be best in this situation based upon who we have on the bench, et cetera, or based upon what the defense is doing. So a lot of it is just feel for the game and watching the game and understanding how teams are playing and or how you're playing. How you playing? So
awesome, appreciate it.
Go ahead, Emmanuel.
Hey, coach, I know it's a game by game situation, but when you play in a situation where it's back to back, how do you determine, is it a game decision or how much of the bench you use in games like this when you're going back to back like this?
Yeah, good question. You got to use everything that you have because you obviously have to turn around and it's a quick turnaround, but at the end of the day, you try to win the game. I think that's the most important thing when you're playing a back-to-back because you can't focus on the next game. The game that's right here is the most important game, and that's the game today. And so we're going to go out there and we're going to do what we have to do to try to win today's game.
And to you, D-Rob, what are you, the point guard position you see, what do you want both you and Ari to be able to do tonight to penetrate and do more things for the team tonight? Sorry for the bad question. There's a lot going on.
Yep, sorry. Phil Haley in that group.
And Haley too. I'm sorry.
Just control the game, I think, is the biggest thing. Watching the flow, seeing who needs to get touches, when and where. So making sure that we're managing the game in the best way possible.
And finally, Megan, one question.
Hey, Coach. Hey, Haley. Hey, D-Rob. Coach, this question is actually for you. I've noticed, obviously, I think everyone else has noticed as well, you have a very competitive spirit, and that definitely, shows up in the team as well. But I wanted to go a little bit deeper and ask you, before basketball, like what drove your competitive spirit?
I was a one-sport kid. I only play basketball, so I don't have any other sports. I just think it's just who I am as an individual. I am super competitive. No matter what it is, I like being the best version of myself. And so because of that, I'm going to always compete to be the best version of myself on and off the floor, no matter what. And so I think it's just part of who I am as an individual.
Okay, cool. One more question.
Coach, one more if I can. KD was part of the staff that drafted you.
Yeah.
What's that relationship like today, and what is something maybe Sparks fans could be encouraged about in terms of what you do?
Yeah, Karen is one of my closest friends, actually, to this day. Just a great individual, a great person. What I think the Sparks organization is getting is somebody who loves this game, who loves this league tremendously. She's always going to put her best effort forth to make sure that the athletes are getting the best that they need. And that the organization is getting the best. KB is somebody who puts her all into everything she does. We missed her the time that she was out of this league. So extremely happy that she's back in the league, and I think LA is really lucky to have her.
Coach, do you feel like
There's tons of difficulties. You're traveling, for us, time difference, like we live on the East Coast, now we're here on the West Coast. It takes you a couple of days to adjust to the time difference. If they're anything like me, up at 4 o'clock in the morning, wide awake, 5 o'clock, wide awake. So there's tons of difficulties, but I mean, that's just part of the game. We all experience it. The West Coasters experience it when they come back East. Probably easier for them, to be honest, but it's just a part of, the lifestyle that we live, and we're blessed to be able to play basketball for a living and to be a part of this league. So no complaints, right? It's just part of it.
Thank you, everyone. Well done.
Oh, yeah, the other man was up at like